Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger and welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. It's the week of August 18th, and just a reminder, make sure you go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com to access the PDF PowerPoint that comes free that basically accompanies this video presentation. Oftentimes, I don't have enough time to cover all the materials that we've prepared, and you can find those on the PowerPoint. So let's jump in right away. Look at this week's headlines. Israel's giving a message to the visiting UN chief that Iran, Hezbollah must be stopped. Israel officials expressed concern over Iran's attempts to gain this zone of influence throughout Iraq and as well as Syria. The head of Mossad warned on Sunday that as the Islamic State terrorist group is beaten back, Iran and its proxies are rushing in to take over the territory, and this is not acceptable to Israel. And then a warning to the Hezbollah. Naftali Bennett says any future attack by the Shiite terrorist group would be considered, quote, a declaration of war by the Lebanese state. And then he makes this candid, pointed remark: Israel will not operate, quote, surgically in the next war with Hezbollah. And finally, a word from the Mossad chief that the Middle East is changing for the worse, he says. Israel is identifying a presence not only of Iran and Hezbollah, but also of other Shiite forces that are not Iranian. From all over the world, they seem to be making their way to this region, and as he said, our number one issue is to stop them. Now, the first slide you'll see says surrounded. Israel has been attacked in the north and the south for 3 consecutive days. Israelis in the north have dealt with gunfire from Syria that landed within Israel's borders, and explosions were reported. At the same time, Hamas in the south has launched rockets in the southern Israel. With explicit threats from Syria looming, the farmers in the Quneitra Valley were ordered to evacuate their homes by the IDF. And basically, it's important for us to understand that everything that's taken place really over this last month has just sort of ratcheted up the tensions, and the danger is very real. We just cannot become numb to all of this. And then the next slide talks about the drums of war. Just 5 quick things. Number 1, did you notice that Hamas has accepted a unity deal with Fatah? The Hamas organization, which rules Gaza, has, in a sense, said, let's get together, let's combine our forces. Now, this happens often, and it usually breaks apart, but it is noteworthy. And then second of all, the Jordanian king is sending a message to Israel. King Abdullah II, for the first time in 5 years, took a helicopter over from Jordan and met with Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah. This is noteworthy and something that we need to keep our eyes on. The third thing, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif met with a delegation of officials from Hamas. Now, this is a partnership that kind of cracks and separates and back and forth. It's sort of a Shiite-Sunni sort of thing. But remember, the leading exporter of all terrorism is Iran. And again, in May, Iran agreed in principle to renew its funding for Hamas. And then we've got this whole mess in North Korea. Kim Jong-un, he's the chairman of the Supreme Assembly of North Korea. He came to Iran for the inauguration ceremony of Rouhani, and he stayed there for 10 days. Now, is it a coincidence that this massive growth and ability of the North Korean ballistic missiles, all of a sudden they seem to be able to launch rockets that have the capabilities of reaching the States. And many experts are saying this is just too amazing. They must have had some sort of outside help. Once again, the world in which you're living. And then, as of no surprise, Iran's parliament voted to add $609 million to their national missile program. Again, the drums of war are beating today. Now, as we continue, there are some articles I'll just refer to because I know I'm not going to have the time. The Hezbollah leader Nasrallah made these following threats last week. He's from his bunker. He doesn't come out of his bunker in southern Lebanon. But the leader of the terrorist group, Hezbollah, hinted that Israel should relocate its Dimona nuclear reactor because it too is a target for his organization, and the destruction of this would have dire consequences. Again, speaking from this hidden bunker, he's threatening Israel, saying, if you try to invade our country again, it will be met by a defending force that is 100 times more powerful than the force Israeli troops have encountered in previous conflicts. And then the whole issue with the Palestinians. I'll let you read this one article for yourself. It's called The Palestinians' Biggest Problem. And the answer, in short, is the Palestinians' biggest problem is the Palestinians. And there's some concern, obviously, from the Fatah that Israel and the United States are just joined at the hip, which I hope we are, and really don't see the ability to have any true two-state solution. In Washington, despite the decision or the desire to reach a peace agreement, most experts believe that the U.S. really cannot conceive of Ramallah actually delivering any of the goods that it would take to create this. Which leads us to the article that's called After Abbas's Death. This is an article by Carolyn Glick. Whenever you see anything by Carolyn Glick, make sure you get it and read it. She's straight on. But basically what we've been saying over the last few months is that, Abbas's health is failing. He's 86 years old, and the question is, what happens when? And again, Carolyn Glick's article basically says that Fatah has no new leaders, no convincing evidence of validation, no marked success in government, no progress towards peace, fragile links to the original setting abroad and local environment that's buffeted by the crosswinds of petty quarrels and regional antagonisms. She goes on to say, not only will Fatah come to the end, but the whole PA that was founded by Arafat will, in a sense, come to an end as well. And Israel needs to get ahead of this because of the chaos that this will create. So I'll let you read the rest of that article on your own. Article that I called The Interesting Bromance. We have the PA chairman, Mossad Abbas, sending congratulations to the ruler of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, in honor of their country's Liberation Day. Abbas wished the Korean people continued stability, prosperity, and that the friendly relationships between the Palestinians and the North Koreans will continue to develop and grow. That's a little concerning if you ask me. Just noteworthy when you kind of get sucked into feeling like, well, just maybe we should extend an olive branch and give peace a chance. Just remember, this is the anniversary of the terrorist attack on a Sabro's pizza restaurant that killed 15 people, including 7 children, wounded another 130. And the response was the celebration of the Palestinians. Hamas recently on their website of its TV channel recalled, quote, "The news of the operation made Palestinians joyous everywhere." And this is just a reminder of the celebrations that took place after the 9/11 attacks, the distribution of candies and the celebrations of dancing in the street. So make no mistake, it's never going to be the issue of the size of Israel. It's the existence of Israel. Article on Israel tourism, and it has a flyer about our next tour that's coming up, which we call Off the Beaten Path. Take a look at that. And then an interesting quote of the week. Again, we're out of time, so I hope you take the time to read this, and I hope this little story is true of all of our lives. So with that, let's remember to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And again, remember to pray for Holy Ground explorations and pray about joining us on our next trip to Israel. God bless you, and shalom.